There are many people that ask me, do I deal with all the changes that are happening, with all the, you can say, crisis situations that are developing in almost every area of our lives? How do I deal with that? We see problems with economy, with ecology, with politics. It's almost in every area. And what it is doing for most people is it brings insecurity, and that means fear. Now, there are different ways you can look at this situation. In the first place, it is important to realize that everything that we see is an indication that things are changing. And one of the things that's inevitable is change. And that is good because you don't want things to be stagnant. We are very aware that stagnancy is not a good thing. But a lot of people are afraid of change at the same time. So the first thing is accepting that change is something that is inevitable. Because if you can't accept that change takes place, you can also not learn how to deal with it in the most optimal way. So that's the first step. It will happen. Change will happen. And whether we jump left or right, doesn't matter. Change will happen. So the next step is then how do we deal with it? Well, that's all depending on a number of choices. In the first place, if you are afraid about what is happening with respect to change, giving you insecurity, making your mind race, you're in problems. As I said, learn first to accept that change is part of life. That the changes are going very fast and affects maybe even your life, that's a different story. So there are a number of aspects to look at. In the first place is how do you react? Learn to feel. Do you react to the situation out of fear? Are you thinking a lot about it? You're on the wrong track. The first thing that is important is to realize that we need to learn to accept things in a loving, compassionate way. People that we have maybe a judgment of, like government institutions, organizations, individuals, all of that is a form of judgment. And it's not about right or wrong. Because from a certain perspective, I've learned there are so many points of views that it is not easy to say, oh, that person is right and that person is wrong. You see that they look at the same situation from different angles, and yeah, who is looking at the right angle? You can say nobody, maybe, but that's not the point. The point is, can you feel compassion for the fact that we live in a world where people are looking at things in a different way? Because that takes already, if we can really do that, takes a lot of tension away because it begins to diminish the power of polarity. And that means that we can talk about things. So fear, very clearly, is not the way to look at it. So love and compassion is the way. So you can look at it from an individual point and look at yourself and say, hey, how do I react to this? Can I stay in my heart? Can I feel compassion? Can I see and learn to see that all this so-called chaos is nothing more than a signal that we are in a time of change, a time of transformation, a time of finding new ways that we don't know yet, but we begin to realize that the old that doesn't work anymore because that's what we see. So instead of being afraid that there's all kinds of things not working so well anymore, we can go to our hearts and see how can I contribute in a loving, compassionate way to the changes that are inevitable and that will lead to a situation that is not only good for me as an individual, because people still look at that, of course, often in the first place, but also for my community. But what we really need to look at is how is it for the earth? Because we live all on this planet, we are depending on this planet. So let's learn to look at if we want to change something, if we want to contribute to change and transformation, do we do that in a way that is for the greater good of all? Or are we stuck to me first or my family first? It will bring us never to the solution. So, what is actually the answer about how to deal with it? Number one, move from fears and worries to love and compassion to the best of your ability. This is like training. In a time of change, this is what we need to train first. And when you go to your heart, that is where the answers for the future come. Even though you may not know them here, our heart somewhere knows them. And by learning to feel and to talk in a loving way with each, a respectful way with other people about it, we will find the solutions. The solutions are not in physical things. They are in the first place in consciousness. When we can really connect to higher levels of consciousness, there are all the answers. So I hope this contributes a little bit to the answer of how to deal with this time of tremendous change. And my feeling is that the changes will only be more intense. I'm not saying this to frighten you, exactly the opposite, as I hope you understand now. It is like this beautiful invitation to say, wow, the old that we know needs to change is changing. And let's, from this place of love, contribute to the direction of change that is for the greater good of all, especially for Mother Earth. I wish that you can find that strength to let go as much as is possible of fears and worries and move in this place of love and compassion. I'm looking forward to the future where we working from that perspective together, because then we'll find all the solutions for all the problems.